Spielberg in the 90s.
I was thinking the same thing.
Set in the year 1839, Amistad follows the titular Spanish ship as it sets sail, transporting black slaves from Cuba to America. During the long trip, one of the slaves named Cinque, played by Jaimon Unsu, leads the other captives in an uprising, killing almost everyone on board, but choosing to spare the two navigators so long as the ship is sailed back to Africa. However, the Spaniards betray the slaves, sailing the ship back to the States, where they are all recaptured and a legal battle ensues over what to do with them. Leading the case to free them is former slave Theodore Jodson, played by Morgan Freeman, who recruits three major allies to help. A young lawyer named Baldwin, played by Matthew McConaughey, an abolitionist called Tappan, played by Stellan Skarsgård, and former President John Quincy Adams, played by Anthony Hopkins. So glad this movie is directly after Schindler's List. I was having too much of a good time.
This is a controversial idea.
The film was actually based on a real story in which the Mende tribesmen of Sierra Leone were abducted for the slave trade, but managed to regain control of the ship and the international legal battle that ensued following their capture. However, the film was initially developed as a TV movie on HBO rather than a theatrical release, with David Franzoni of Gladiator fame penning the script, and Spielberg wasn't even involved at all until producer Debbie Allen requested that he direct. He initially turned it down at first, but did agree to make the film after Franzoni's script was rewritten by Steven Zaillian.
No disrespect.
When casting the character of Cinque, Spielberg was insistent that the actor should have an impressive physique and be of West African descent, offering the part to both Denzel Washington and Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba Gooding Jr.? Impressive physique?
I don't think so.
Both actors turned him down, but they did admit that they regretted the decision afterwards. So you're telling me that these two people had the opportunity, not even an opportunity to audition, they were literally offered the part to work with the most famous and successful director in the world at the time, and their response was... nah. Will Smith and Seal also pursued the part, but both were unsuccessful. Despite holding auditions in London, Paris, and Sierra Leone, and over 150 actors trying for the part, Spielberg still couldn't find the right actor for Cinque. However, he was so determined to find the perfect person that he was prepared to delay filming for up to 2 years. Thankfully, he came across an audition tape from Jaimon Unsu, who was a complete unknown at the time, reading one of the speeches from the screenplay in his native French. Spielberg was impressed and brought him in to reread the speech in English, at which point he won the role. And fair play to him, you wouldn't know he was a first-time actor watching this performance. Even more so when he apparently didn't even speak English fluently at the time either. Imagine acting a scene with actors and you have no idea what they're saying. It couldn't have been easy.
What did he say?
Actually, filming did prove to be a big challenge for Unsu. Not only was it his first lead role in a Hollywood movie, but almost all of his dialogue was in the Mende dialect, which was very different to the language spoke in his home country. Furthermore, because he was cast just a few weeks before filming was due to begin, he only had 10 days to learn all of his lines. In the end, he usually resorted to just learning them phonetically rather than actually understanding what he was saying, though he did make a point to learn his lines properly for the courtroom scenes.
Quite a tale.
Spike Lee was offered the role of Jodson before it was given to Morgan Freeman. He was actually originally offered the role of the interpreter James Covey, but asked to switch roles after feeling that the part was too young for him. John Cusack, Gabriel Byrne, and Aidan Quinn were all offered the part of Baldwin before Matthew McConaughey was cast. Sean Connery and Dustin Hoffman were then considered for John Quincy Adams before Anthony Hopkins was selected, but this actually caused a huge uproar, as many US actors felt it was inappropriate for a Welshman to play an American president.
Makes no sense.
When it came to casting, some things were actually changed from the real-life counterparts. Baldwin, in reality, was actually in his late 40s, whereas McConaughey was only 27. James Covey, the translator, was only around 14 or 15, whereas the actor was 19. And Morgan Freeman's character was completely fictitious. In real life, it was actually Austin Pendleton's character, Josiah Willard Gibbs, who discovered Covey.
I don't understand what you mean.
Filming began in Connecticut in March 1997, and amazingly, the entire film was shot, edited, and completed in just 51 days. A rare feat for such a big budget production. However, Spielberg ended up being absent for most of it, as he had already begun filming Saving Private Ryan. This man is a machine! Some people struggle to just make one half-decent film. This man casually makes blockbuster masterpieces 2 at a time!
You know it's true.
Amistad was released on December the 10th, 1997. Why does Spielberg keep releasing depressing-ass films around Christmas? and was a decent success, pulling in $58 million worldwide and earning mostly positive reviews, as well as 4 nominations at that year's Oscars.
Thanks for your interest.
Much like Spielberg's previous film, there's a lot of dark visuals in this one, and it is a difficult watch at points, backed up with some intense and powerful music. Even if this sword stabbing effect looks really bad. Oh yeah, look, it looks so real. And the sheer casual nature of how they discuss slaves and how black people are just possessions will make you truly ashamed of being white.
The case is much simpler than you think, Mr. Tabbitt. I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? Land, livestock, heirlooms, what have you.
Livestock.
That being said, the movie does a great job depicting the complete idiocy of racism.
Now, if he were white, he wouldn't be standing before this court, fighting for his life. If he were white and his enslavers were British, he wouldn't be able to stand. So heavy the weight of the medals and honors we would bestow upon him. Songs would be written about him.
Also, the first 20 minutes of the movie give you absolutely no subtitles for any of the African characters. I'm not kidding, not a single one. For 20 minutes you have to practically guess what's going on if you don't speak their language. Even some of the white people don't get subtitles.
Suéltese, Riel. Algo ha sucedido.
I'm trying to drink my brandy.
Oh, well these I can understand.
3-4 million Negroes in this country.
Never mind, go back to the Africans. But in a way, it actually works for the movie's story, and it was completely deliberate. Throughout the film, there is a huge language barrier between them.
He said, I think, show me the map.
So why didn't he translate 30 seconds ago when he needed to know what they were saying?
Jono Dinkire.
But it adds to the viewing experience when we also, unless you're native to their dialect, are unable to understand them. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Spielberg is a bloody genius. To take such a tiny touch of not giving us any damn subtitles and incorporating that into the entire arc of the story, it almost makes me want to forgive him for Indiana Jones 5. Almost. Let's not get crazy.
No, stop this!
There's an awesome scene where McConaughey tries to communicate with him by drawing illustrations in the mud. It reminds me a lot of Close Encounters. In fact, all of the performances are great in this, but particularly McConaughey, especially when he finally speaks in their own language.
Singme.
Jaimin Unsu is a great actor, but damn, he does like to scream a lot, doesn't he? And not just in this film either. His acting is incredibly subtle, other than that, but so powerful and emotional when the slaves win the court case and get their freedom. Until they get a retrial, but still. And he only speaks one line in English throughout the entire movie, but it is such an epic moment.
Give us free.
The issue I have is that I don't find the trial itself particularly interesting. I love the scenes where they're trying to communicate and we learn more about their backstory, but the trial just kind of drags for me. I don't think the movie needed to be over 2 hours long. But it's Spielberg in the 90s, so of course it did.
Oh, I see.
Which is the problem. They win the case, but then we have to wait around for the new one, and it just goes on for quite some time. My god, how is Hannibal Lecter still talking? Move on! Anthony Hopkins is brilliant as well, and sometimes unrecognisable in this. He delivers some amazing dialogue throughout the film.
And now would have us disregard truth, even as it stands before us, tall and proud as a mountain. The truth. And truth has been driven from this case like a slave.
He actually managed to deliver this entire 7-page speech on the first take. Spielberg was so in awe of this that he insisted on calling the actor Sir Anthony rather than Tony for the rest of the shoot. In fact, he has a scene with Unsu where they first meet, and they both admitted that they struggled to get through each take without crying. I'ma be a guardian of the galaxy. But the movie continues. For the love of God! It's like Spielberg was concerned they were going to run out of film, so we wanted to make sure to use up as much as physically possible to tie us over until we find some more. Eventually we do get a really atmospheric scene with some eerie music as the slaves are on a boat returning home to freedom. And that's the thing, it's not a bad movie. It's a good film, really well made, but I think the pacing could have been tweaked a bit. I love the communication scenes with the slaves, and the acting is spectacular across the board, but there are some boring moments that tend to drag. It's still a damn powerful film though, and if you're a Spielberg fan, I'd check it out.